Hello, Matthew Bell with Alzheimer'sProof.com, and today I wanted to continue a series that I'm doing on free resources, absolutely free resources that you can avail yourself of, and many of those, as you can guess in the age of information, are going to be available through the internet, through the World Wide Web. Today I'm going to run through a list of publicly available websites where you can get reliable and even cutting-edge medical information. Now, I've done videos, I've done presentations on alternative medical interventions, including herbs and other supplements, but that is not the subject of this video today. Here, I'm going to highlight 10 different websites where you can obtain mainstream medical information. That's going to be things on clinical trials, on diagnoses, on drugs and pharmaceuticals, on treatment plans, and so on. And all of it is going to be from mainstream sources and covering mainstream topics. So let's get into it.
So the first website I wanted to touch on is WebMD. WebMD was founded by internet entrepreneur Jeffrey Arnold, and it is a health information repository. Just a wealth of information on various conditions, symptoms, pharmacology, drugs, physician information published on various different websites and articles and blogs. And it just has a bunch of information. You can see here that what I've essentially done is typed Alzheimer's into the little search bar. You can see it comes up with Alzheimer's disease, an overview, living and caregiving, symptoms, diagnosis, just on and on. And if you click on any one of these, let's just click on symptoms and causes. You can see early signs. You can see, is it Alzheimer's or normal aging? So you can see symptoms and cause. I'll just point out that my own website, Alzheimer'sProof.com, I have various different causes. I have an article on 10 possible causes for Alzheimer's and how to address them. And I've further gotten into that in a video, and I am expanding on that information. So WebMD. A second website to draw your attention to is MedicineNet. Now, MedicineNet was started by one William Shiel, S-H-I-E-L, but it was acquired by WebMD in 2004, and so you can actually see this loading little video here from WebMD. I don't know if it will load or not. It seems like it was loading previously when I pulled this page up, but you can see Alzheimer's disease information. I've typed it into the search bar, which is right up here in the top, and you can see once again disease fact sheets. What is it? The difference between Alzheimer's and dementia, who's at risk, and just again, not to toot my own horn here, but Alzheimer'sProof.com has again 13 biggest risk factors, and I also talk about who's in danger of getting Alzheimer's disease, give you kind of some of the basics of basic causes, and then of course age, genes, family history, and various other things that are associated with a higher than normal Alzheimer's risk. Next website is the Mayo Clinic. The Mayo Clinic is different from the first two, which are private corporate institutions. The Mayo Clinic is an academic medical center, and it's actually a 501c3 nonprofit organization. It's headquartered in Rochester, Minnesota, and the Mayo Clinic is named after its founder, 19th to 20th century physician William Worrall Mayo. And the Mayo Clinic is just well regarded in terms of the quality of the information that it provides. You can see I typed Alzheimer's disease into the little search box, which is here now highlighted with the little dots around it, and you can see Alzheimer's disease. There's an overview similar to WebMD, diagnosis and treatment, doctors and departments, and then even what's available in terms of care at the Mayo Clinic itself. Next website, National Institute on Aging. The National Institute on Aging is a government website. You can see the .gov. It is a division of the National Institutes of Health. Now, the National Institutes of Health are headquartered out of Bethesda, Maryland, but the National Institute on Aging is actually headquartered in Baltimore. Focuses on the aging process and age-related diseases and conditions, of which, of course, Alzheimer's disease is a major component. You can see the Alzheimer's disease fact sheet, including changes in the brain, various signs and symptoms, cause, and so on. You can see a little graphic there, healthy brain versus severe Alzheimer's. It looks like it's a brain almost of a different species, really. It's such a radically different configuration. The fifth website is MedLinePlus. Now, MedLinePlus is a website of the U.S. National Library of Medicine, and it is essentially an online health and drug encyclopedia. And you can see I've used the search engine here up at the right-hand corner, typed in Alzheimer's disease, and you can basically see there's a summary page, symptoms, diagnosis, and then it has one that says start here. So click on that and you can see that it has an overview of Alzheimer's. It has 10 early signs, and actually that's an external link there from the Alzheimer's Association, and they certainly do have a very instructive article. I know that that was an article that I used when I first became aware of my dad's condition. Then they have a couple of external links. Most of them are National Institute of Health links, which you can see are designated there by the NIH. But this again on the apolipoprotein E, the APOE gene from the American Association for Clinical Chemistry, and just it looks like a number of different links that you can follow information. I mean, you could spend literally hours just sort of delving into this. And I know a lot of caretakers are not going to have the time to dive that deeply into this information. So maybe if you are part of the support structure for somebody who has Alzheimer's, you might be able to help them to sift through some of this information. But MedLinePlus is definitely a preeminent source for mainline medical information. Now, the next website I'll draw your attention to is drugs.com. Now, drugs.com is actually out of New Zealand, and it was founded by Karen and Philip Thornton. And it is an online pharmaceutical encyclopedia mainly, but you can see that it is branched out. There are articles that are medically reviewed by various different doctors and other pharmacists and things like this. So you can see here 11 signs of Alzheimer's disease, or are you just getting older? So again, another variation on is it Alzheimer's or just normal aging? The article title that we saw earlier. I'm going to click this window off and you can see here a second one, which is really the strength, I think, of drugs.com. You can see medications for Alzheimer's disease. And as I scroll down, a couple of things. Number one, you can see that what they've essentially done is capitalize the brand name, and you can see that in lowercase is the common or chemical name. So Aricept and donepezil are essentially the same compound, but donepezil is the general chemical name, and you can see here under the brand name Aricept, and Aricept is the actual proper name for the pharmaceutical company's offering. It's a class of drug known as a cholinesterase inhibitor. You can see that here. And if you click on Aricept, which is one of the most important drugs right now that is prescribed for Alzheimer's disease, you can see that there's an entire page. You have an overview. If you click on side effects, you can click on dosage. Looks like here brings up a fact sheet, and it sends you to various different links on the dosage, and just a number of different pieces of information here. You can actually see that it has an image of what the pill looks like, so you can help to help you identify it. Website number 7 is PubMed. PubMed is a search engine, and it helps you to interface with the Medline database of articles and abstracts. Now you can see the website, and I'll kind of break this down here a little bit. So the very first part of the website is NCBI, and that stands for the National Center for Biotechnology Information. It's a division of the NLM, that is to say the National Library of Medicine, which is itself an arm of the National Institutes of Health. And again, this is a government website, .gov, and you see the PubMed database, and here I've already typed in Alzheimer's into the search bar and brought up an article that is titled Alzheimer's Disease, and this goes back to 2012, but there are many, many articles that you can reference that have to do with Alzheimer's disease. And here's another trick for you, is if you click on the main part of the website, so I'm going to highlight this part and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to come over to a Google search, and if you just type into the Google search bar something like Alzheimer's, and then I'm going to do a site search and put in ncbi.nlm.nih.gov, and I hit enter, and you can see that it brings up just a number of different articles where Alzheimer's is referenced, and the number of hits here is over 432,000. So there's just a number of articles to keep you busy on the National Center for Biotechnology Information. Next website is the Alzheimer's Research Forum, that is AlzForum. Now this website supports Alzheimer's related research. It was founded by one Jun Kinoshita in Japan, but it has since branched out from there. You can see that it's got a number of different articles that are essentially news items like cell-specific enhancer, Atlas centers AD risk in microglia. Scientists discover a common distress signal in the blood-brain barrier, and these are all relatively recent. You can see from just a few days ago. Today is the 17th. This is from the 16th to 15th. So just a number of recent news articles. But the real thing I want to draw your attention to here on the AlzForum is the database. If you click on databases and go down to therapeutics, you'll find a really interesting search engine here. So for instance, you can actually look at different drugs that are in various stages of approval or disapproval, as it were, regarding pharmaceuticals. So for example, if I click on phase 3, amyloid related, and Alzheimer's disease and click view results, I get 6 different hits of drugs that are in various phases. And in this case, it's all phase 3. You can see here phase 3. This ALZ top 1, which is a combination of cromolyn sodium, Intol, and ibuprofen. And it is basically studying amyloid-related and inflammation-related treatments for Alzheimer's disease. And you can see here 6 different drugs in various stages of approval. And actually, in this case, they're all phase 3, but the database is certainly a wealth of information about treatments and hypothetical pharmaceutical grade treatments for Alzheimer's disease. So that is the Alzheimer's Research Forum. Website number 8 is MedScape. Now MedScape is going to segue us. So as we segue from more popular level information into more physician level information, MedScape is certainly mostly for clinicians and doctors and other healthcare professionals, but at the same time it does have a very interesting newsgate, and you can see here curiosity, skepticism over new algae-derived Alzheimer's drug. I'm just highlighting here the first news article from November the 14th. Another one here is from November the 7th. Aducanumab about face, experts weigh in, and this one's from Reuters. During deep sleep, the brain does housekeeping. So just a number. It functions in the first place as a newsgate about information that might be relevant to Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. But in addition to that, it's going to include information. It's a repository of journal articles and other information that would be useful for somebody who's actually a medical practitioner. But again, this is just publicly searchable, so you're welcome to click on it and see what you can get out of it. Website number 9, the American Medical Association. I'd be remiss if I didn't at least mention this one. This is the largest association of doctors in the United States. It contains a wealth of medical and scientific information. And of course, the American Medical Association is the publisher of the prestigious Journal of the American Medical Association, or JAMA, J-A-M-A. It was founded all the way back in 1847 and has thousands of members. It is, as I said, the largest association of doctors in the United States, and it's a wealth of information. I went ahead once again and typed in Alzheimer's into the search bar, which is at the very top, and you can see here various articles on and mentioning Alzheimer's disease. Now, one last one, number 10, is ClinicalTrials.gov, ClinicalTrials.gov. Now, this website was begun in the late 1980s, early 1990s, and essentially the idea behind this website was to provide access to people who were suffering from HIV and AIDS virus, provide access to clinical trials for experimental treatments and interventions that were not yet publicly available. And so you can see here, if you search on Alzheimer's disease, and as I've done that, you can see under conditions here in the middle, all of these are geared towards Alzheimer's disease. Some of these under status you can see are in the stage of recruiting people for studies. Some have been completed. Some are not yet recruiting. But essentially this is a repository and a registry of clinical trials where you or your loved one perhaps might be able to avail yourself of some of these, and you can see where the locations are. So some of these are quite exotic. This is in Shanghai. This one is in Boston, University of Pennsylvania, Stanford. I mean, I'm just skipping around. You can play with the site yourself, but it's run by the National Library of Medicine. That's part of the National Institutes of Health, as we already previously mentioned, out of Bethesda, Maryland. So it is a government-operated website, as you can see from the .gov. And once again, this can give you some cutting-edge information regarding clinical trials pertaining to Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. I hope that something that I said may have been of use to you or of interest. If it was, please click the like button, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be alerted to new content as it becomes available. I have additional website walkthroughs that I have planned, not just for medical information, but for alternative information, general information, practical information. I have other videos on long-term care and on various different Alzheimer's proofing strategies around the house. Please check my website out. That's alzheimersproof.com.
If something that I pointed out was of interest or of use to you, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be alerted to new content as it becomes available. I thank you so much for being with me today, and I look forward to seeing you again in another video.